Hello? Oh. I don't know why it changed off my regular mic. For some reason it changed to the default. Okay. How do I turn off HDR? How's everyone going, by the way? Jamil, Ray, Adam. What's going on, guys? Hey, Vernon. Hello, Cycle. Okay, there we go. That looks way better now. Oops, I accidentally had the music up like full blast. I think that should be better. Whee! Agile will do a 20-minute speed run. If you didn't finish it within 20, you'll be giving away $1,000. What is the speedrunning record for this game? That should be... okay. Okay, the record, any difficulty on original PS4 version is 3 hours, 33 minutes and 36 seconds, and it was set by an Australian. What do we win? All good, ready for this shit, eh? This is hype. I just hope the controller works straight up. I need to test that before I play properly. I am not playing goddamn Spider-Man with a bloody mouse and keyboard. That would be so weird. I think we're waiting for launch, which is in 45 minutes. Which I'll quickly put a counter for. What? Okay. Okay, hopefully that worked. Hey, Hero Live Gaming. Have you played it before? Yeah. I played it on PS4 and PS5. And I platinumed the PS5 version. So I've played a little bit. And then I've played Miles Morales as well. Okay. There we go, that's better. Perfect. Okay. I wanted to watch some previews because I haven't watched any yet, but from what I saw on Twitter, they were saying it was looking pretty good. Not the PS4 Platinum? No, I've been trying to get it, but like, it's just such a trek. It's really grindy. So you gotta be like committed. For sure. Need to get a platinum for PC, man. Maybe I'll see what happens. Just for shits and giggles, play it at the lowest settings for a bit. Okay, yeah, I got you. Okay, PC vs PS5 vs Steam Deck. Let's watch this. It's IGN though. Who cares? The 4K? Yeah, nice.
So this is one of the big ones. Sony have been slowly building up their first-party releases from the PS4 generation onto the PC platform, and now we have the biggest to date. Porting Insomniac's incredible gaming engine is in the very capable hands of Nixxes, the new member of Sony Studios.
I wonder how good it'll run on a 1080 Ti.
No doubt. So have they come out swinging?
Especially Steam Deck. If it runs good on Steam Deck, that would be kind of crazy.
Improved the 2018 original significantly. New facial models, improved resolution and performance, DualSense controls and graphics, which included some of the best ray tracing on consoles.
Videos out here? Oh shit, sorry.
More comes to the PC platform. By no means an easy feat of engineering for Nixxes.
That should be better.
Bespoke, tailored engine for the PlayStation platforms, running under DirectX 12 on the PC platform, just under 2 years after it released at launch of the PlayStation 5. With some improvements over the PS5 nonetheless, so long as you have the high-end hardware at least. So what's on offer here for the PC then? Well, higher FPS
17th when I can afford this.
120 FPS.
Hey, so in a couple of days,
again,
nice.
If you have the hardware. Shadows are increased. Ray tracing is increased over the very best on the PS5 in the performance ray tracing mode, and even
USB wide DualSense support. Like to see it.
Is slightly further out in long city vistas over the performance mode on PS5 at least. And the AA and upscale options are plentiful here, with DLAA, DLSS options all included for NVIDIA machines.
But I can't tell which one the PC is.
With TAA, SMAA, and Insomniac's
some of the hordes were bigger and harder than I thought. That's what she said.
Platforms now also
wait, which
PC.
hordes?
Finally, FSR 2.0 has also been added, but this is still being improved by the team at the time of this video.
I think they said that one was fixed.
The process here has really given us a look behind the curtain, with the team working hard.
Can I be honest? I can't tell the difference.
Known for. A big update made drastic increases right at the 11th hour, just before this video went live. And in fact, there's another update coming post this video going live.
I don't know what's going on.
Launches. The addition of more AA options was one of those, allowing you to pick your AA and or your upscale choices separately, including dynamic scaling and direct modes.
Looks
it also
good though.
includes ultra-wide resolutions, higher resolutions than 4K.
Already
although
looked
that is
good on
more
PS5 there.
future-proofing for PCs to come,
Wait a
but it's still
second.
a nice benefit of the
Oh,
PC
okay, here we go.
platform. It even
Oh, that's just the PC
includes
settings.
full DualSense support via USB only from haptics, adaptive
The only
triggers,
difference
and
I can notice is
speaker
like on these
support, alongside
fans.
full mouse and keyboard and other
Clearer.
controllers as you so wish. It even includes all that DLC thrown into one package. From that score, it's a solid PC.
It's hard to
port
see,
with all the
yes.
options you would
Yeah, for
expect,
sure,
some
but,
over and above
like,
that, and Nix's
how much can you really do?
right at and beyond launch.
Basically
This
just a
enables
remaster
great
of a
breadth
remaster,
PCs
right?
to run the game. Even the Steam Deck.
The
can
Steam
join
Deck is the
web slinging
more
action
interesting
with
thing.
full deck support before launch and included here in my tests.
Clear. Move up. Hey guys, I guess bombs are part of Willie's getaway plan.
What does it take to deliver the same performance as the PlayStation
30 FPS,
5? And
1080p,
then what
nice,
does
that's
it
pretty
take
good.
to better that, and is that even possible? So let's start with visual quality and improvements. At its heart, the core game assets, textures, effects, animations, etc. are all identical to the PlayStation 5 version. The key improvements come in fidelity or resolution levels you can achieve, namely ray-traced reflections. This is a tale of two cities, before the patch and after. Before the patch, the quality of the ray tracing was very poor, very low resolution, artifact popping,
One on
and
the
issues
right.
across the board in all modes, and
Oh my
effectively
God.
far less objects in the BVH, that bounding volume hierarchy.
Why would
This
you even
meant that
want
all
ray
the
tracing that
quality
looks like
settings,
shit?
even at the highest level, were not as good as the settings we saw on the PlayStation 5, even in that performance RT mode.
But they're saying that they
But
fixed
once
it?
the patch is applied and how the game will launch, then you have the same three modes of ray tracing. Medium is still lower than both models on PS5, but now it's only very slightly, with less objects included in that BVH container, and it renders them at a slightly lower resolution. This means that objects can still be missing, causing changes in reflections as walls may be missing or NPCs. But
That PC
high
ray
boosters
tracing looks
to
crazy.
similar levels to performance RT, although resolution
Hey,
is now
Shinomiya,
higher than the PS5.
what's going on?
So long as you render at 1440p.
Steam Deck smaller screen going to look more clean? Yeah, exactly. 1080p on like a screen that small, like it's insane.
Again, sometimes the
You could even
objects
play it
in
at
the
720 if you
can
wanted
be
to play
less than on
60 for sure.
PS5, and very high improves this, with both
Bro, what is
reflected
going
objects
on
and
over here?
resolution being the highest,
No.
even over the native 4K 30 fidelity mode on PlayStation 5. It can
Bro, I wish I had
improve
a
the look of some
3080 right
sections
now.
and the increased
That ray
objects.
tracing looks
Although it can
insane.
be hard to spot unless highlighted, as you can see here, once you see them though, it can be harder to ignore them when reverted. All in though, this is the single biggest increase you get over PlayStation 5 in regards to effects. Shadows are noted, but in my tests from gameplay and cinematics, these are very minor increases in resolution, although there might be other areas in nighttime city and electrical lights that add improvements, but I'll cover that more in a later patch. Other post effects and alphas can also be better, albeit very minor. Again, all down to those 4K resolutions.
Oh,
compared
I
to
was just saying,
performance RT mode, which
because of the
dynamically
screen on the
scales between
Steam Deck,
2560 by 1440
you could probably play this at 720p
Things
by
such as shadow maps,
settings
hair
and
fins,
get 60
alpha particles,
FPS.
bloom effects and texture filtering can all be better than on
Because they were testing
PS5.
it at 1080p 30
Resolution being the most
and it was
prominent.
running at a
However,
loft 30
you will need
at
a
1080p.
powerful GPU of 3080
So,
or 3070 or 6800 levels.
with 80 by
to achieve
800
that.
resolution on the Steam
And
Deck, well
even
then yeah, you
with
could
a
easily run it at
full
720p,
A8 in place
60
to
FPS, probably high
maintain
settings.
better performance, or even at times the same. Motion blur
Damn, that
samples
one on the
can also
left
be
is kinda
higher and have
crazy.
more coverage on limbs, characters and camera, occasionally making textures look less detailed due to the per pixel blending. Though the high fidelity models, performance captured real-time cinematics, silky smooth traversal and combat system are all as impressive here on the PC as they ever were on PS5. Nothing is lost in translation as you take your first bite of the Big Apple.
Wow.
Morning, guys.
So we have 5 specifications of PC, NVIDIA and AMD. So with NVIDIA machines
Been playing most
first,
games
we
at
have the top
720p.
tier
Windowed for
3090
most
paired
games,
with
you get
the
nicer frame
3700
rates
and then
at
paired
windowed,
with the
really.
5950X to ensure we give it room to breathe.
Bro, what
But this
type
is
of
where results get
goddamn
interesting.
psychopath
With
is
review
playing
code as
Spider-Man
worn
with
out, we can see that even cinematics
bloody
still
keyboard?
dips below the ideal 60 FPS target. This was mostly due to GPU stalls and all the engine or API being heavily reliant on that CPU. Its CPU
Seems like it would be
here,
so
mostly
difficult
due to a
on
main
a
worker thread. Looking at the
keyboard.
reduced performance we see moving it over to a 3700, that GPU has even less room to breathe here, and therefore utilization drops. Post this patch though, it's all but fully resolved.
It's on a
Taking my
3090, you can ride at
2070 gives us a clear
play at
example.
60,
Overclocked here to more like a 2070 Super.
60
Paired
at
with
4K.
a 2700X, it really struggled to get anywhere close to 60 FPS in both cinematics and gameplay prior to the patch being released, but once it has, many of the areas that would have formed a large part of this review are resolved. As such, the tests on the RTX 3090 are now made redundant by the updates. As it stood though, the same issues covered on those two machines still stand on the two that I can test, namely CPU and
So the 3090 tests are just irrelevant.
Worker thread and underutilization.
Why even bother showing them?
Times. The improvements offered will be mirrored on these, albeit that resolutions can be that much higher with a 3090. As of version 1.806, the quality performance across all platforms has significantly improved. Taking my RTX 2070 gives us a clearer example. Prior to the patch, it could be GPU bound often, even at 1440p with DLSS active. Whilst traversing the screen and swinging through the city, that BVH cost to the CPU,
There are people who just play all games keyboards and you can hotkey gadgets.
Does cause heavy stutters.
Yeah, I
Meaning no
know.
matter what resolution you set the card, it'll never be a locked 60 FPS with ray
I
tracing
feel like the
active.
combat
Even
just
then,
wouldn't
not
be as
fully
good.
possible with it turned off. Cinematics are now significantly better.
I can
than
get like a
before,
shooter
almost twice the performance
on
in certain
PC.
cases. Where it used to be stuttering into the 20s, it can now often hit 60 FPS or stay within the 50s most of the time, giving us a 100% performance increase alone. And that's not all. As covered above, the ray tracing quality was far lower than the PS5 and caused flickering, low resolution chunky pixels, less object reflected, and overall worse quality, significantly in the medium settings. Imaged instability, all of that whilst halving your frame rate. Now even at medium, which is slightly lower than the PS5's in performance RT.
I don't know if anybody else saw, but there's a THQ Nordic event happening in like
slightly better IQ,
4 hours, I
that
think.
DLA option is used, being superior to the game's TAA method. Although in like-for-like tests, DLAA is approximately 5 to 10% more expensive than TAA, which uses Insomniac's temporal injection when DRS is enabled. Meaning at worst, you could be 30-something% slower with better IQ than the PS5, which also uses DRS. But the performance is as close to a locked 60 FPS on the console.
Can we just see a direct PC higher settings versus PS5 higher settings? That's all I want to see.
Fighting, it holds that target almost to a T, and largely because it can transfer data much better, which causes longer, occasional stutters of 100 milliseconds.
You could hear his PS5 in the background.
The RTX 2070 here can hold the same level in walled-off fight zones and some cinematics, but while swinging around the city or moving the camera, even with the patch applied with city views off into the distance, it can still dip into the 40s, but before it could dip into the 30s. Disable ray tracing though, and we can see performance double on all machines. That same 1440p DRS or DLSS can help stay above the 16 millisecond frame time required for 60.
You gotta play this game with ray tracing though for sure. Looks so good with ray tracing with all the reflective glass on the buildings.
Higher GPU utilization.
Like Miles Morales as well.
Here in jobifying more of the work across multiple threads,
Looks so
thereby
good.
reducing that impact on one single thread. Therefore, what you're seeing is CPU utilization going up.
And we're better at games like Doom and Quake on PC than console. Played Doom 2018 on console, getting slaughtered, and then I played it on PC and was ripping into away.
Data streaming and the associated CPU bandwidth costs.
Nice.
Has over the
I can see
PlayStation 5
shooters are definitely easier on PC.
Meaning
Like,
the Zen
not for me,
2700 is no
because
longer
I'm
the
not used to the
slowest
mouse and
clock in this
keyboard, but
engine test, although
I could
it
see
can still be
if I got
limited
used to
factor
mouse
in
and
certain
keyboard,
scenarios, but
it would be way
effectively the
easier.
performance and the requirements here means the faster the CPU you have, the better the performance will be, by and large. This means that the RX
feel I would be better at Apex, like
maximum settings with
at
SSR
like
enabled is
Apex if I
pretty
played on
much unlocked
PC.
4K
Yeah.
at 60 FPS.
With the
Whenever
mouse, you
CPU
have
is
so
not
much
being tracked
more
with travel.
more
When it does, you will
space
still see
and
those
more
same drops
accuracy.
below that
You can make
16 millisecond
heaps
frame
smaller
time. As
adjustments.
it becomes CPU or data
Yeah,
bound.
Jai,
As
you're gonna
such,
get the loading
you can
kit
max
for your
out all the
Tilnic,
options via
bro.
ray
For
tracing to deliver
sure.
a sharp and smooth
For
way to
sure.
play. And this game benefits from high resolutions, as the high quality assets, textures, and lighting all benefit from.
I just gotta find one
as most elements scale with the
in
time
Australia.
downwards.
I think the link you sent me
3600X
was
can remain in
UK,
use
right?
around the GPU though. Jobs and work are now far better allocated, meaning total CPU usage can hit the 90s, let alone on a single core. The engine is supremely multi-threaded, with it offering better image quality.
I don't know if it's the video, but does this low-key look really shit?
The game at 4K DLSS with
Like-
maximum ray tracing at almost identical levels to the 2070 at 1440p high, meaning
This
a
looks
welcome
good.
increase in IQ and frames. Well, aside swinging into the action, that is.
It must have just been how we recorded it. This looks really good.
So finally, the Steam Deck here. Well, off the bat, this little
Oh, here we go.
handheld does a
Nice.
brilliant job of offering PS4-like performance and quality. Ray tracing is obviously not on the cards, as
Well,
is,
if
for
you
the
want, I
most
can
part,
help in as
60
well. I
FPS.
think I've
With
seen
some
them.
tweaks to a medium
I
and low
think
level
they're
with high
on
textures, you
eBay.
can gain a solid 30 FPS level with 1080p
I think
DRS
I can order
enabled
them on
and enjoy
eBay.
wisecracking web slinging action on the go.
But thanks for that.
or on the big screen.
But
Due to
I
the
think it should be
meaty
all good.
CPU from a mobile perspective and capable GPU, you can cap to 30 FPS, and the frame time graph shows again a smooth and consistent cadence throughout, very close to the PS4's performance. It does often scale to 720p, but the TAA injection solution does a commendable job hiding much of this from your view. As you can use the OS-enabled
So
FSR
weird seeing the
mode and with
Xbox
slightly
controls on a
higher
PlayStation
tops,
game.
gain a sharper and better image. Pushing the resolution down and some other settings can see 60 FPS hit in quieter moments, but this is far from consistent or ideal and would not be my recommendation. But as is par for the course with
Why are you
PC,
playing it at
the choice is
1080p
yours.
though?
It can still be mesmerizing to think we're now playing a top-tier PS4 title of 2018 with improvements on the go in 2022 with less than 40 watts of
Bro,
power.
I don't know how this guy's recording his
Let's say about
footage, but
responsibility and power again.
it looks
Ah, forget it.
weird. I know this is not how the game looks on the Steam Deck. Because it also looked like shit when he was playing it at
Question posed here
4K,
was, what PC
ray
specs
tracing
do
at
you need
high
for the PS5?
on a
For the technical
3090.
sections, then an RTX 3070 or RX 6700 XT will
Is
deliver
Doctor
the same
playing on a
or
big
slightly better
screen?
results than the
Yeah, but
PS5,
if you're like testing the
certainly
Steam
from a
Deck,
graphical
at least
perspective. In
try
regards
it
to the
handheld.
CPU, then the question
Literally
is
the whole
harder to
point of the
answer.
Steam
In
Deck.
the smaller sections, any modern CPU of 2700 or upwards will deliver on 60 plus frame rates. It is within the travelling that the CPU
Because he's only tried it in 1080p. He hasn't
where that demand increases.
He hasn't shown anything other than
Which is only
1080p.
mitigated but not resolved with
Which
ray
there would be no
tracing.
point in playing it at
Future
1080p if you're
patches
playing
may
it
improve this, and that
handheld.
indeed is the team's target. And we will certainly be swinging back in to cover this one shortly. But for now, the Spider-Man remastered port offers a close mirror of the PS5's best, and in many ways it can exceed it, with all the fun, style and action losing nothing on this new platform.
Good
Just be
W.
aware that a fully locked 60 FPS, certainly in a big part of the game of travelling, will come at very expensive cost, and right now may not be fully possible. Anyway, that's it for another performance review. If you like all these deep dives into game performance, technology and graphics, then keep it IGN and IGN Performance Reviews, and we'll be swinging back very soon. I'll catch you on the next one.
See you later.
Anyone want to surrender? No?
I only use the bigger screen for YouTube. I do all my playing on the console screens. Yeah. Okay, I get you now. Yeah, for sure. If I was buying a Steam Deck, I would literally only be using it for handheld. Steam doesn't have a countdown, but I do. 26 minutes. So close. Yeah. I think what's his name put out a video. His name. Australian guy. Kill up. I
This
strongly
video is brought to you
recommend.
by Surfshark VPN.
Wow.
All right, Spider-Man. Never forget the dash, or Marvel's lawyers will end you. So to be clear,
Yep.
this review is essentially a port.
Don't worry, I did
report.
not forget
If you
the
have
dash.
Never played Spider-Man before, and you're wondering if it's a good video game, then dude, what the fuck? Have you been living under a rock? Spider-Man fucking rules, and it's easily the
Yes,
best
mate.
superhero game since Arkham, and arguably one of the best action games ever made. It really is just a fantastic gift to gamers, to comic book fans, to MCU fans, to anyone who just likes a good time. And if you want to hear me gush about the game for a full 18 minutes, you can do so by watching my review of the PS4 game that came out a few years back. All of that holds true here for the remaster. It's just that now it looks even better, and Peter Parker has a different face for some reason. I'll leave a link to that original review below the like button. So like I said, this review
Peter
digs
Parker's
deep
had a
into
different
that
face for, like,
soon-to-be-released
2
PC
years.
port and takes a look at how it performs. I put about 10 hours into this across 3 different systems, 2 PCs and the Steam Deck, which was really interesting, by the way. I'm looking forward to getting to that part of the review. I tested all of the upscaling options like DLSS and AMD
Ooh.
FSR. I tested
Good on
ray
you.
tracing and its different options. I tested the FOV slider, I tested the DualSense controller support, I tested
I
as
wonder
much
if
as
it
I
will be
could.
like
And I
Death
wanna tell you
Stranding,
right off the bat that this is a
where you can
fantastic
make
port
it 21 by
that you can have a lot of
9 even on a
confidence in.
16 by
The
9 screen,
optimization across all
or if you can
tested
only make it
systems is great,
21 by
and the
9 on a
focus and
21 by 9
flexible
screen.
options menu really does allow you to tweak this to meet
'Cause that
the
was
needs
cool
of
in
your
Death Stranding.
hardware. Your mileage may vary,
Especially
of
on
course,
an
as
OLED,
PCs are fickle
where
devices, but if your
the
experience
black
is
bars
anything
at the
like
top
mine,
and
then
bottom
you're
would
gonna
be
have a great time
completely
with this,
black
and it
instead
makes
of
me genuinely
grey
happy to
on
know
a
that PC
like a
players are gonna be
LCD.
able to experience for themselves this absolute banger of a video game.
The Stranding was pretty cool with the widescreen. And it even did it on PS5. I have a feeling they won't do that though.
Let's begin
I don't
by
have a
taking
PC
tour
though,
of
so I'm loving the
impressive
desktop
PC
mode for when I'm
options
watching
menu.
YouTube and
In the game settings menu,
downloading.
there are 4 difficulties to choose from, each of them tweaking enemy health, aggressiveness, and damage
completely
output.
legal
I played
games
on
is what he
Amazing,
said.
which is the default. It's a pretty easy game though, so if you're looking for a challenge, I'd really recommend upping it to that max difficulty level. The only other option of note here is the puzzle skip toggle, which is interesting. So for anyone that hasn't played the game before, Spider-Man isn't just Spider-Man, he's also Peter Parker. And Peter Parker is
It did
a
not put a
scientist.
bloody
Insomniac
puzzle
wanted to
skim.
capture that part of his persona and deliver it through a gameplay experience, and they chose these weird, kind of boring logic puzzles that you need to complete at various points in the game. I think everyone was okay with these because everyone appreciates that Insomniac were trying to do something with the whole Peter Parker's a scientist thing, which is an aspect of his character that's often overlooked by the movies, the games, whatever. But is this gameplay formula good? No, not really, and it stands in stark contrast to the rest of the game, which is awesome in every moment. So you can
Is it
choose
the same
to do
company
whatever
that
you
made the
like with this
port
option,
for
but my
DS?
advice is to do a few
Death
of these
Stranding and
puzzles,
Spider-Man?
get a feel for
No.
them, and then enable this
Kojima
feature
Productions
and
made
skip
the
rest.
Death Stranding
You're really
port,
not missing anything by doing that, and this option just gets you back into that
and
web swinging action
Nixus
faster.
made this
Not a
port.
huge amount to shout out in the audio options, except this is where the haptic feedback setting exists for some
Oh.
reason. If you're using a DualSense controller plugged in via a USB cable, ensure this option is enabled to enjoy
The
those
haptic
haptics.
feedback is in
I'll talk a
audio
little bit more
settings
about
because
that
haptic
later.
feedback
On the
is
accessibility
basically
front,
just
Sony has
audio.
long been committed to improving the
If you didn't know
accessibility
that.
of its game, and Spidey is no slouch here. There are a number of gameplay and input
The
affecting
haptic
options that allow you to
feedback
change QTEs to button holds,
is
giving you
literally
longer dodge windows, and making the car chase sequences
the
more
feed,
forgiving.
the
There's
what's it
also a
called?
host
The
of
input to the
visual
haptic
contrast
feedback to
options,
make
allowing
it
you to highlight
like
specific
vibrate is
enemy
literally just the
types with
audio
specific
signal.
colors, so you can pass the battlefield more easily. There's tweaks you can make to the UI and tons of other stuff.
That's
It's
why
very
when you
impressive, and it's definitely going to open
put the
this game up to a
controller
bunch more people, which is
on
great.
a desk,
In the gamepad
if
settings
the
menu,
haptic
only
feedback
to
is
shout out
playing
here is the
music, it
adaptive
basically turns your
toggle.
desk into a
Again,
speaker.
If you were using a DualSense controller plugged in via USB cable, then be sure that is
And you can
enabled.
actually,
Do
on the
not get to enjoy
PC,
any of the
you can
DualSense
turn the
features if
haptic
you are using
feedback
the
into
controller
like
wirelessly
a
or just
regular
the wire.
speaker.
On the keyboard and mouse side, there are plenty of mouse sensitivity options for different contexts. And on the keyboard side, there is the option to remap every key, which is great. I actually did test keyboard and mouse controls, and I'll talk about those when I'm done talking about the settings menu. All right, time for the main event, the graphical settings. Display options first. There is standard resolution and VSync options here, as well as options specific to HDR. The upscaling section is where things get interesting. For anyone who doesn't know what this is, it's basically different tech that renders the game at a lower resolution, but then upscales it in such a way
Feedback
that
has always
looks
been like that,
it's
yeah.
rendering at a higher resolution. So it basically
Yeah.
gives your GPU more headroom to operate. Spider-Man on the PC supports 3 options in this regard: NVIDIA DLSS, AMD FSR 2.0, and Insomniac's own temporal injection. So I'm going to leave the more detailed analysis of this to the likes of Digital Foundry, but on the whole, I found that all of these did provide a notable uplift in both peak frame rate and overall stability, especially when you have ray tracing enabled. Ray tracing is very expensive in this game, and
I don't
unless
think
you're
I will
running
be
a
able to do ray
top-end
tracing.
rig, I dare say that you're going to need to have one of these options
can
enabled if you're planning
Do
to
ray
run
tracing on a
In
1080
addition to
Ti,
each
but
of
it's
these
just like
options,
really
there's also
shit
dynamic
because it doesn't
resolution
have
scaling,
the
and you have the option to target a
machine
specific
learning
frame
cores.
rate. I don't like using these in general because I find it can be a little too aggressive too quickly, resulting in some jarring resolution changes. Also, I didn't need to use it on my PC since I was able to hit my target performance without it. But if you are running a lower spec machine, then this can come in handy if you're looking to push out additional performance. This is a very handy feature. on
sound
the
cues
Steam
from the
Deck, though,
game to make it
which we'll come
rumble.
back to
Yeah,
when we talk
basically.
about Steam Deck performance shortly. On the graphical settings side, there's a bunch of stuff here allowing you to tweak texture, shadow,
It's probably a bit
geometry
more
detail.
complicated
There
than
aren't a
how
lot
I
of
explained
options,
it,
they're the
but
right options,
it's
allowing you to
basically what it
seriously
is.
increase performance if you scale them down. The big one, of course, is ray tracing. Now, there are 4 options here: off, medium, high, and very high. Ray tracing does come with a big performance hit. On both systems that I tested on, it was about a 30% reduction in performance, even at that medium setting. It significantly reduces both peak frame rate and average frame rate, and you are absolutely going to have a far smoother time web slinging through the Big Apple if you turn ray tracing off entirely. But you do lose out when you do that, because the ray tracing implementation is nice. Surfaces like glass and puddles become vastly more interesting in the way they reflect light, and the city does feel more immersive when it's doing this. So if you can afford to get ray tracing working on your
Imagine
machine,
Agile
and you
launching
really
this
take
game
that
and there's an
full
error
tip,
that PC's
I think
fixed.
it's worth it, but I do think it's a line ball call.
Bro, I swear.
You might be
If the
someone who
1080
enjoys
Ti
the
is too low,
smoothness that comes
I know
from
it's
high
not like the
performance
best anymore,
more than you
but
might enjoy a more
it's still
reflective
pretty good.
pattern. If you are going to enable ray tracing though, I would recommend putting it at the high setting. The medium setting works fine on the city streets since you're speeding past reflective surfaces and you don't have time to check the detail. In internal spaces though,
Surely if they can get it running on a
medium
Steam
setting
Deck, they can run it on a
controls draw
1080
distances,
Ti.
leading to situations where reflections can distractingly pop in as you move toward an area. That doesn't happen at that high setting. The very high setting essentially just provides a more detailed reflection. You can see here some ground detail that appears when I have it at very high that doesn't make its way into the high setting. But given the performance cost of this very high setting, I just don't think it's worth it. The high setting
18
means
minutes.
I get
Ooh, getting
reflections
closer.
both in and outdoors that look great, without any of that pop-in that occurs at the
Minimum
medium settings,
requirements
and without the
1390
performance hit that comes
Ti
at
for
the very
30
highs.
FPS.
So I'd recommend
1120p.
setting ray tracing reflections to
Oh my
high.
god.
or
One day,
turning them off
bro,
to
imagine
low.
this. One
The
day
other big
that's
ticket
actually going to
item
be
in the
true.
graphics menu is a field of view slider, allowing you to significantly increase that field of view or reduce it should you feel so inclined.
That's
Now,
the
listen,
crazy
I'm someone
thing.
that always increases field of view in games, usually to around 105, which some people feel is too wide, others feel it's not wide enough. I hate that fisheye view that you get when you push FOV too far, but I always try and push it to the widest I can before that fisheye effect really kicks in. I was excited to see the inclusion of an FOV slider here because I thought, hey, let's see more of New York City while you're swinging through it. What's not to love? Let's jack that bad boy. The thing is, I didn't like it one bit. It's going to be personal preference, of course, but I found that a wider FOV really reduced that sense of immersion that I had when I was web swinging. Part of that is the sensation of speed, since you're further
I definitely
away from
wouldn't change the
sliding,
field of view,
he's
for
smaller
sure.
compared to his surroundings. Part of it is the framing of the action.
Valve are
where
soon
you're
opening
zoomed out,
reservations
so
for the
it doesn't
deck in
let you
Asia and
soak up
Australia.
Spidey's brilliant aerial
What?
acrobatics in quite the
Where did you
same
see
way.
that?
The big one though is just how much of your screen becomes dead foreground when you zoom out like this. New York skyline.
Because I
is
just lost my
essentially a
Steam
set of
Deck pre-order
corridors
because
for Spidey to navigate.
I
And
didn't
when
know
you
how to
max
get
out
it shipped to
FOV,
Australia.
80% of your screen just becomes buildings in the foreground, windows and brick walls and whatever else. It doesn't look great to have so much of your screen filled up with that stuff, as I think this comparison showcases. Yeah, you do get
Yeah,
some
on the
impressive
future, when you die in game, you
wide-angle
also
vistas
die.
above the skyline, but I think that they were already impressive
The
enough.
stakes
I don't
would be
think
so
the wider
high.
FOV does much to enhance them. So I tinkered with this a lot, but in the end, I left it on the default setting, which is
One
one
did
of
the
the
video
few
watch?
times in any
Thanks.
video game where I've done that. So let's bring all this together. How does this thing run?
I can't
spent
wait.
about 10 hours with Spider-Man on 3 different systems, a desktop PC with an RTX 2080 Ti and an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X.
That's day one for
The
sure.
second was a laptop with an RTX 3070 and an Intel Core i9
It's gonna be crazy playing games like God of War and Spider-Man on the go in like a Switch form
Sent
factor.
out the build for this a while back. It issued a major patch just a few days ago that did a whole bunch of stuff. A lot of it focused on improving performance when ray tracing is enabled, improving DLSS efficacy.
It would be a
enabling
Kojima game where the
AMD
controller
FSR,
shocks you to
and improving
death. Oh yeah, for
performance on
sure.
Steam Deck.
If
Also
anybody's gonna
glad that
do it, it
Sony
would be
said it's still
Kojima.
working to improve 2 specific things in the near term. The first is ray tracing performance, where they've said, quote, "We are still finalizing ray tracing settings and are working on offering additional options at launch for more fine-grained control over ray trace image quality," end quote. Secondly, they've also said that development is ongoing for AMD FSR image quality improvements. So that's the background. It may sound a bit ominous, but I promise you it's not. In
Hey,
my
Jacob.
experience, this is an excellent port.
What's going on, bro?
Far cry from those disappointing debut
What's
days
a
of
blow
Horizon Zero
from
Dawn. I wanna make the point
Microsoft?
that this is my experience,
What
and
happened?
mine alone. Yours may be different. Elden Ring ran great for me when I reviewed it, but that wasn't the case for everyone. So as always, your mileage may vary, but here's how things went for me across 3 systems. I started my playthrough on the RTX 2080 Ti. The main goal I had for that system was to be able to play at 1440p max settings, ray trace enabled, maintaining
Oh,
a
if you
solid
can run
frame rate
2080
at
Ti
or
at
above 60
max frame rate,
FPS.
full ray
Add some
tracing
fine-tuning in the settings
at
menu.
1440,
I was able to
I think I
hit
should be
that
able to
goal
play at 1440
basically.
max.
If I turn ray tracing
Without
off,
ray
I'm
tracing-
looking at a
bleh,
solid
without ray
60 to
tracing.
100 FPS, tending toward the upper end, but it does feel silky smooth, fantastic performance. With ray tracing enabled, one constant I experienced across both PCs is that frame rate will fluctuate a lot based on on-screen events. There's a lot going on in New York City.
Holy
Huge
shit,
amounts of
the
geometry
stutter.
to render, dynamic lighting, reflective surfaces, weather effects, traffic, people, you name it. Ray tracing takes up a lot of the headroom that could be
Kojim's the only one
utilized
with
to
the balls to
guarantee
push
higher
that.
performance. So even with DLSS on,
Bro, I
was
don't know
still
if that's
getting
pushing the
around
envelope.
60 FPS, but with drops to as low as around 50, maybe 45, depending on what was going on. I was okay with this, to be honest,
my
in the sense that
God.
ray tracing is
Bro,
a
I would die
luxury
within
on the
2
2080
seconds,
Ti,
especially if I had
but I think
rocket
on
launchers.
balance, that system is better suited to having ray tracing turned off.
They're
On the 3070
crying
laptop, performance was
about
better.
Sony paying for the
1440p,
game
max
not to go to
settings,
Game
DLSS
Pass.
on and ray tracing off. I was averaging around 100 FPS. That would spike up to 120 and drop to as low as around 80. Still, despite these
I
fluctuations,
thought
it
we already
felt
knew that
really
they
smooth.
said that.
Turning ray tracing
Or they
on
were
and
doing
setting it
that.
to high, average
Didn't they
frame
say that
rate
like
did
ages
drop
ago?
to around 70 FPS, but
It was like with
spike to as
Resident
high
Evil
as
8.
around 80 and drop to about 60. Again, though, it felt really
Basically,
smooth.
save
The 30
modding
series
me and
GPUs are the ones
sending
that
the
are
link.
designed
It's
to handle
Q1
ray tracing properly,
2023.
and I
The
feel like
reserve
it was
one.
doing that here. What about the humble Steam
Hey,
Deck? So the
okay,
footage
wait,
you're seeing
so
here is the game running on deck.
you can't
If
reserve
you're
one
watching
yet,
this on a
right?
monitor or a
You have to
TV,
wait till
you're gonna be
Q1
like,
2023 to
"Ew, that
reserve,
looks terrible."
or
But remember
they'll
that
ship
you're
Q1
typically viewing this on
2023.
a small handheld 800p screen where it looks a hell of a lot better. So first questions first, can you run this at a smooth 60
Holy
FPS?
shit, what is this?
Absolutely not. Or if you can, I certainly couldn't find the combination of settings to get it running like that. But no, it's not possible, which is the case for most graphically intensive games when playing them on deck. With the recent Steam Deck update that allows for variable refresh rate targets, I've really started to focus most of my
really?
tinkering
That's
around
pretty cool.
getting games running at 40 FPS. That is a magical sweet spot that feels closer to
40 FPS is
60
good
than it
enough,
does to
honestly.
30, and it kind of feels like it should be the minimum baseline that all games shoot for, regardless of platform. So as I mentioned earlier,
Gotta wait
Spider-Man
for
on
quarter
PC
one
does
to be
have
able
a
to reserve.
dynamic
Okay,
resolution
nice.
scaling option that allows
I'm
me
not
to target
crying, rather
45 frames
reporting.
a second. So what I did was cap my Steam Deck
We got
refresh
our
rate and frame
resident
rate
Xbox
at
reporter,
45,
Jacob
and then
Novik, on the
work back from
scene.
there to see what I needed to do to get it running smoothly. I was successful, basically. Setting everything to medium, I was able to achieve a very steady 45 FPS in internal spaces, and somewhere between 30 and 45 FPS when web swinging. Now that dynamic resolution scaling is putting in the work, and the image is quite degraded as you're seeing it here, but it does look significantly better on the deck's actual screen. Plus, it's Spider-Man on a handheld at 45 FPS. It may not look the best, but it feels pretty fantastic, to be honest. I played
Bro,
around 3
that
hours
would
of the
be
game on deck.
insane.
I didn't feel frustrated by the performance.
Imagine having like
or
a long
the lack
road
of visual
trip.
clarity or the controls. None of
And
that. It was just a really pleasant play experience.
You'd be able to plug
so
it
I
into
thought
like
that
a
was
cigarette lighter,
do
right?
be warned though that if you try and jack this thing, it will crash your Steam Deck, which is something that actually doesn't happen that often with Steam Deck. I've found it's usually
Imagine.
pretty stable, but I found
Bro,
that
that
if
would
I
be
tried to
insane.
really pump the settings on this, it would just hard crash my Steam Deck and I'd have to reset it. So be warned of that. So just to recap those Steam Deck settings, set everything to medium, turn on dynamic resolution scaling in game to 45, and cap your Steam Deck's refresh rate and frame rate to the same. If you manage to find a better config for yourself, then please post it below in the comments section. More broadly, I think this game looks incredible. The remaster adds significantly more visual detail over and above the base PS4 version of the game.
What we like to
with
see.
everything from faces
Not a
to
big
lighting
deal.
to texture detail getting a
This Microsoft
significant
paid for
uplift.
cheap priority
If you're on
during the
PC,
pandemic,
you're
both
seeing
were
this
very
game
good
at
business
its
tactics,
absolute
not a big
best,
deal.
So long as your system can handle it.
Sure.
And if it can't handle it, then you've got enough settings to tweak to get it running well. Draw distances in particular, I think, are just amazing here. The New York skyline stretches out endlessly and appears so detailed even at its most vast reaches. Pop-in is just so hard to find. I mean, you can if you really look for it, but swinging through the city streets, you're just not going to find egregious examples of buildings or traffic crudely popping in a distracting way, or at least I didn't, and I hope it's the same for you on your rig. By the way, cutscenes are uncapped FPS, and they all ran beautifully. There are a few bugs I want to call out here. The first one relates to crashing. So this game does not like to be alt-tabbed. Across both PCs I tested, I would regularly crash when I would alt-tab.
I don't even know what alt-tab does.
7 crashes in my 10 hours. 2 of those actually hard crashed my PC, necessitating a restart, so that wasn't fun. No crashes while playing the game, but yeah, I wouldn't alt-tab if you can avoid it, at least not until Insomniac patched this. On a few occasions, I did notice some micro-freezing kicking in when the game was struggling to keep up with the render. This
That's the
only
most
happened to me
annoying
once or twice, I
micro-freezing.
think, and the game
So
just kind of
annoying.
paused for a second, caught up, and then pressed on. No big deal, but hopefully that doesn't occur more frequently for others. The only
Didn't
other
seem like
thing
it
was
was
a
doing that
controller
on the
bug in
other
one of
footage on the
science
IGN
puzzle
there.
things where the stick sensitivity was set to way too high, but again, that's very minor. So the takeaway from all of this is that from a settings and performance perspective, this is
Think about this, Miles Morales in like a month or two whenever it comes out. Gonna look even better.
Upscaling technology delivers meaningful benefits. Ray tracing is
This already looks
taxing, but
insane.
it's worth it if you can afford it. And the 30 series cards can comfortably handle ray tracing, which is
Alt
nice.
tab goes into window mode.
Optimization across
Okay.
PCs is excellent. It runs well on the Steam Deck. And other than a crashing issue related to alt tabbing, the game is largely bug-free.
First thing I'm gonna try is alt tabbing.
Because he's a bug, you get it? Okay, let's just talk about the controls.
What?
Your timing is impeccable.
First thing I'll try is alt tabbing. Then I'll try maximum settings at 4K. Then I'll try the lowest settings at 720p. And then I'll just play it
One of the
normally.
interesting features of the Spider-Man PC port is that it supports the DualSense controller so long as you have it connected via USB. To take advantage of this, you need to ensure that the controller drivers are updated. If you have a PS5, you can just connect your DualSense to a PS5 and it'll auto-update them. But if you don't have a PS5, then you need to download the drivers from Sony's website. They have a really easy-to-use driver update tool there. I'll leave a link to that below the like button. So, is it worth using a DualSense controller when playing Spider-Man?
Can only play this game at 480p 24 FPS. Oh my god, imagine.
But should you buy a DualSense controller
480p 2480 FPS at max settings, ray tracing
is
full.
good here, but it's nowhere near as good as, say, Returnal, which I think still has the best implementation of DualSense.
Returnal's
features
coming to
today.
PC soon
So there
as
are two
well.
aspects to the DualSense: the adaptive triggers and the haptic feedback.
Bro, Sony needs to add trophy support
in games based on
to
shooting a weapon or
PlayStation
driving
exclusives
games,
that go to
etc.
PC.
The feedback provided by the adaptive triggers
Please
can really
add goddamn
to that
trophy
sense of
support.
immersion when playing. You can kind of imagine how Spider-Man might do something like that with, you know,
If they actually had
button
trophy
presses and
support, I would be
shooting webs
motivated
different
to completely
distances or
finish
what-
all
I
of
don't
them,
know. You
but
can imagine some stuff.
all the
but there's
exclusives
really
I bought
nothing
on
like that here.
PC
You don't get deeper
that were
control
the
over
PlayStation
combat or
exclusives
web
that I bought for
slinging as a
PC.
result of the trigger resistance. It's really just a bit of
I've
pressure
played them,
at the
but like
bottom
not
of a
that
press
much
when
because
you're
they're
web slinging,
basically
which
the same
feels
thing.
Really neither here nor there. Gadgets as
Because
well
I don't
don't
have
make
like
use
a
of the adaptive
monster
triggers,
GPU or
at least
anything.
none that I managed to unlock in my 10 hours. So yeah, I'd
It's probably technically better playing them on PS5
feedback, on the other hand,
than on
is
my
a different
PC.
Story. It provides so much more subtlety in every moment. That rush of air that you see when you're free falling, you can feel that steadily build in the controller. When you snap out a line, you can feel the gentle jolt as you take the tension of it, and you can feel that tension in the line grow as you arc deeper into your swing, and then slightly decrease as you
When does
begin
video
to
go
arc
for?
upwards. And when you make that little jump off the end of your web,
Before it releases, I need to test if the controller's working. I think that is why they're going to use a PlayStation login for some games like they're reporting. Yeah, I saw that. Hopefully, fingers crossed, bro. That would be sick. Okay. So far, nothing. Oh no. Surely it works. Hey, nice. Okay, easy. Let's work straight out the box. What we like to see.
this little bump, and then nothing. You're just sailing through the air now.
Hey,
frictionless.
Rick Boy.
But the DualSense is
What's
waiting
going on,
for that
bro?
next web to shoot out, and you'll feel that familiar jolt again. I really didn't appreciate how great this felt until I switched over to an Xbox controller and was able to compare the simple rumble experience to that provided by the DualSense.
It does
It's
go
chalk and
crazy.
cheese. Everything I just described before is just rumble on the Xbox controller. It's binary. It's on or off. It feels like such a massive step down versus the alternative. But just to be clear, this is such a minor luxury. It is not a big deal. It will not transform your playthrough. It is not essential. It's just a nice
Bro.
to have, so I don't recommend.
Can you
rushing
at
out
least
to
leave
buy a
likes with all
DualSense
the different
controller to
cars?
experience this. But like I said, if you've got one
Oh
laying
wait a
around,
second.
I
No, I don't know what you're
recommend
talking about. I'm
the
talking
last
about.
thing I'll say about
They're all
controls is that I did
legit.
test
Oh,
this
hey
on a
Rex.
keyboard and
Oh,
mouse
Crimson
setup,
Warrior.
and it was
Whoa.
actually really good. And in some aspects, it's kind of better than a controller. Not overall though. I do think a controller is the best way to enjoy this game. But the keyboard does allow you to set single button presses for a bunch of inputs that require a combination of button presses on a controller. For example, that move where you zip toward a point and leap off it quickly, That involves holding the left and right triggers on the controller, whereas on PC,
Oh,
it's just a press
wow.
of the C button or
It's the
whatever
real
button you choose to
DSP
bind it
gaming.
to. In
Whoa.
combat, a bunch of moves
Bro,
like
what were you doing in
finishes
front of your
and throws
camera
are
in that
also
live
bound to
stream?
single button presses
Come on, man.
keyboards,
I didn't
whereas
say any
controllers,
release
it's a
computer
combination.
station
Outside of that, the overall
having
feel
custom
of combat
Linux
and
kernel
web slinging
to install
absolutely
Steam and
holds
play
up.
exclusive
The
PA
shift
games
button fires off your web,
on
the spacebar is used to jump, the mouse
VR
control for
drive
camera.
or
It feels
PSN.
really seamless. It's not my preferred method
Can
of
also use
controlling Spidey, as
macOS.
I do think you have a better kinesthetic
Bro,
link
if
to the character with
macOS
the
went to
controller in
any
hand,
other
but
product
it's still
other
a very
than a Mac,
solid way to play, and I don't
that
think
would be
that
a miracle
keyboard
in and
mouse
of
setup
itself.
is going to be any sort of barrier for someone wanting to enjoy the game this way.
Watch the game not even
So what
launch
else
when
is
I
there
go
to
to
be said? Well,
go
on
to play
PC,
it.
when you launch the game, it first brings up a launcher window that lets you calibrate settings before you load the game. And I love that. That is awesome. Every game should do this. The other thing I noticed on that launcher is a mysterious PlayStation PC link, which doesn't do anything now. It just moves you to a
interesting.
broken URL. But
Wait,
it does seem
I
to
wonder if
indicate
it will
that Sony
work.
are going to add a PC games tab to their website.
Wonder if it
similar
will
to the way
work
they have sections for
when
PS4, PS5,
you open it
and
now that it's
PSVR.
gonna launch.
All of this is in line with Sony's burgeoning commitment to the PC platform. The studio that made this port, Nix's Software, was recently acquired by Sony. To this point, Sony have released PC ports for Horizon Zero Dawn, Days Gone, and God of War. We also know that Uncharted and The Last of Us are both on their way to PC, and it's all but
The
confirmed
Last
that
of Us
Eternal is on the
remake
way there as well.
on PC is going to
Sony are
look
making
insane.
PC games a part of their portfolio going forward, and I love that because the PC is my main platform. But more than that, I'm just glad that PC players get to experience this stuff. Xbox's
macOS is just Linux. I thought macOS was built on Next OS.
Quite the same strategy, as they want to keep the focus on
I've tried Hackintosh, but not worth it. Yeah, I did Hackintosh one time.
Sony wants to play it, fair enough. I'm just glad
It worked fine, but it was like
on PC eventually, and when they do hit,
the point of having the Mac is to like have all the continuity between iPhone and iPad and Apple TV and all that. But with the Hackintosh, you don't get any of that good stuff.
And are trying to deliver the same high quality experiences that
Just get a Mac.
their console customers. All of this is by way of saying what I said at the start of this review. Spider-Man rules. The PC port is great. You're gonna love it.
Let's
Guys,
go.
let's be real here. We're nerds. We're cool.
Okay. Oh wait, wrong game. Oh, 2 minutes left. Nice. macOS is just like nerfed PC 1,000 times. No. PC and Mac have completely different uses. Like, I'm not going to use my Mac to play games, but I don't want to use my PC for anything other than playing games. Mac just does everything else better. I'm back and I brought tacos. Ooh, what filling? One minute, let's go. Come on. I swear, if I got the time wrong, I saw the goddamn release time from Insomniac yesterday. Witch of the Woods. Okay. We had Mac on school before and it's just used for Lightroom and Photoshop. Aside from that, collect dust unless someone enrolled in Swift coding. Well, I have my Mac next to me. Other than gaming and streaming, I don't use the PC for anything. I just like using Mac, but it's everybody's personal preference. Oh wow. PS4 Pro. That is like one of the sickest custom consoles ever. Cheese and except iPhones, you have way more control with Android and putting music on iPhone. You still got to use iTunes. Bro, I don't know if people know, but there's actually a really easy way to put whatever song you feel like onto iTunes. I do it all the time. Okay. 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. I might have to restart Steam. Oh, now available? Oh, yes. It's clearly available right now. Spider-Man Remastered, now available. I'll play now. Game is not released. What? Giving me mixed messages here. Okay. I know I have the right time. I guess we just gotta wait for it. Steam taking their goddamn time. It's so weird. I've never pre-ordered a game on Steam. I might have to close it on here.
Cool nerds, but we're nerds.
But maybe I have to fully restart it. Huh? Unpacking. Okay, well, I guess I have to wait for it to unpack. Bitch, what is unpacking? Nobody's ever had to unpack a game. Anyway, I guess we gotta wait for it to unpack. You can't see it, can you? Oh, whoops. Okay. Should be able to see the progress now. What if I quickly just zoom in? Oh, wait. Thing. Okay, there we go. Oh, wait, shit. Wrong way. Oh, no. No. Where did my display capture go? It just disappeared. The hell? Go. What is happening? Oh my god. Okay. I'm coming back. Okay. Bro, what the hell? I didn't even do that. It's just like floating away all by itself. It's grown a mind of its own. Okay, there, you should be able to see it now. Minor issue though. Everything else is gone. Huh? Where did my goddamn camera go? Oh, hello. That's better. Wow, it's an absolute miracle. The original Peter face is still exclusive to PlayStation. Yeah, it is, eh? Why is Superman set as your background? That's my background. What? Okay, there is 13 minutes left of unpacking. Imagine you're on speakers and the game intro is THQ. Oh my god. The THQ goddamn soundtrack is so loud. Yeah, it staggers people from overloading Steam site. Really?
Hmm.
Are you going to stream the THQ event? Yeah, I think so. 70 megabytes of disk usage. Are you using SATA? Yes, I am. I'm using a regular hard drive. Shut up, I know. Hey, Tamo, is that how I say it? You know how to unpack faster? No. What? Bro, I think bro, are you trying to lead me down a dark and twisted path? Imagine you only have 2 megabits per second internet and you want to play this game. Bro. That would take forever. 78% already? Lucky man, Rigby. Lucky man. Or woman. I don't know. Lucky person. Oof. 12 minutes. Bro, why couldn't this just do this before the goddamn game released? Oh, there. Oh, well, mine's at like 20%. Yeah, but I'm downloading it. I didn't have it pre-downloaded. I just put it out. Ah, okay. Okay, nice. I don't know. You might not have to unpack it then. I swear I've never seen unpacking on Steam before. This is the first time I've pre-ordered a game though, so that might just happen to every Steam pre-order. I'm assuming this is just installing, right? So have you thought about it? Will you stream the show? Yeah, I think so. I think I will. Someone already in ending credits on speed on Twitch. Bro, imagine. The quickest speedrun I think before I saw was 3 hours and 33 minutes. I don't know. I don't know how you could do that. Mine is at 90 and I'm not even downloading the game. Yeah, now I wish I'd put this onto my SSD instead of my hard drive. Not epic. 10 minutes though. We're doing 10 minutes.